You've probably heard that seller financing is the best way to get into real estate with no money down. That it's exactly how you can buy rentals, especially Section 8 properties without banks, without credit, and with barely any cash. Sounds fantastic, right? Well, I'm here to tell you, it sucks. And in 2025, it's more of a waste of your time than ever before. Stick around because I'm going to break down exactly why seller financing doesn't work anymore, who is still lying to you about it, and what you should do instead if you want to get into Section 8 investing. I'm Khateri, a licensed realtor and Section 8 investor. And unlike the other gurus that you've seen on TikTok and YouTube, I'm not here to sell you dreams. I'm here to tell you the cold, hard truth. Let's get into it. What seller financing really is. So what is seller financing? Well, it's when the seller becomes your lender. You don't go through a bank, you don't need credit, you just agree to make monthly payments with the seller over time. So for example, I find ABC property and I say to the seller, hey, I'm interested in this home. I see it's for sale, but I can't afford it, or I can't go through a regular lender for XYZ reason. Are you interested in instead, I give you $500 every single month for the next 30 years. That'll be an interest rate of 8%. You'll make 8% on your money and I'll get a house. Deal? Sounds great in theory, but here's what nobody tells you. The seller must own the home outright. There cannot be a mortgage, and that is very rare in today's markets. So you might ask, oh, who are the people who own homes outright? Well, it's typically those who have paid it off over 30 years, which means that they are older. And guess what? If you're 70 years old and have a home outright, they want cash now. They don't want to take payments over 30 years. They want to retire. And most of all, why would they take on risk when they can just sell to a normal buyer with cash or with bank financing? This whole setup only works when you find a very specific seller in a very specific situation who also trusts a stranger with their property and with making payments. That is really rare. Now, let me tell you about why, even when it does happen, it's usually a garbage deal. Part 2, why most seller financing deals are trash. Even if someone is open to seller financing, here is what usually happens. They typically want a huge balloon payment over the next 3 to 5 years. That means you still need to come up with a big lump sum later down the line. Now you might think, okay, can't I just say that I'll do a balloon payment and then sell it right before? Well, yeah, you absolutely can. But in my opinion, that is much more of a hassle because we want to own these homes for 30 years. That is really where you make your most amount of money. In fact, there's even a saying out there that you only typically become profitable on homes past year 7. They could also ask for a larger down payment, often 40 to 50%. And guess what? If you have that kind of money, you may as well go with a DSCR loan because it's backed by a bank. Because again, these people don't want to take this risk. They have no idea who you are. So they will want a bigger down payment. Or they're going to ask for a higher interest rate, usually more than what you could get with just a standard loan. Once again, they're going to ask for, I've seen roughly 2% higher than what the regular conventional / DSCR loans go for. So I've seen them go for 10%, 11%, 12%. That is near private money numbers. Like I've seen hard money loans that go for that amount. Your cash flow is going to be nothing at this high of an interest rate. You might get in with less paperwork and less closing costs, but your monthly payments are going to be way higher. So what does that mean? It means that your cash flow gets killed. And if you're buying a cheap Section 8 home, guess what? There's not a lot of cash flow to begin with. You can't afford to make mistakes with financing because one bad loan term and the whole deal falls apart. Now let me show you an actual deal. So this was just on my homepage of Zillow. 10345 Greensboro, Detroit, $82,000, 3 bed, 1 bath, 1,000 square feet. Okay, it looks fine. And according to the pictures, it looks to be in pretty good condition. So I ran the numbers on this already. $82,000 purchase price we're going to be using, and I'm going to just go through this example with a DSCR loan first. 20% down payment, 8% interest rate, $7,000 in closing costs. Property taxes is $1,200, insurance is $800. We're saying $2,500 in maintenance per year. And then the monthly rent is $1,400 with a 10% management fee. So that is going to get you $340 after your maintenance. So this is already putting aside a maintenance budget of 15% of the rent. And you're getting $340 and a 24% ROI. That is fantastic. That is amazing. Oh my Lord, that's a really good deal. Now granted, there probably is going to be some repairs needed, maybe like $5,000 worth. I didn't put in just for the sake of simplicity here, but still, that is an insane ROI to be getting. Now, what happens if instead they want to do a 10% interest rate because you're using seller financing and you want to only put down 5%? And they want to also do it on a 20-year loan instead of a 30 because they think they're going to be dead in 30 years. Well, what happens? Well, your ROI actually went down a little bit. And guess what? You're barely breaking even on your cash flow. What happens if you have to pay the insurance deductible? God forbid, you have to use the very thing that you purchased in order to pay out the property. Like, for example, we had a property that had a pipe burst in the wall and it costed $23,000 of water damage. Thankfully, insurance kicked in, but we did have to pay a $2,000 deductible. How are you going to afford a $2,000 deductible if you're making $70 a month? I know some people who spend more than that on a single DoorDash meal, because lo and behold, the terms will definitely be in the seller's favor here. They have zero reason to go with you instead of just a normal buyer. You know what? Let's say that the closing costs will be less because I forgot to factor that in. Guess what? Your ROI went up, but once again, you're at $70. That is not enough money if anything goes wrong at all. What are you gonna do? Part 3. Here's why it used to work and why it got so popular. Seller financing was not always bad. It wasn't. In 2020 or 2021, it made a lot of sense. Why? Well, it's because interest rates were low. Real estate investing was definitely a buyer's market, and many landlords were tired of managing cheap homes and just wanted out. So it wasn't trendy yet. That's a better way to put it. It wasn't trending. So sellers were more open to these creative offers. I mean, interest rates back then were, 3%, 4%. I think they even went down to like 2.6 at one point. But guess what? That allowed seller financing gurus to go, I'll give you 6%. I'll give you 6.5, which at the time was phenomenal, and it got the deal across the finish line, but that wouldn't work today because once again, that is like, I got quoted at 6.9 for a regular home loan. In 2025, things have changed. Cheap homes, they sell really fast now, especially to cash buyers. Everyone's heard of seller financing. Every seller, every realtor known to man. Listings will literally say no seller financing right in the description. In fact, here is one right here. $89,000, also in Detroit. It's a gorgeous home. And guess what? Right here, no seller financing being offered. Because everyone knows about it. And honestly, most realtors hate it. And any seller willing to do it likely has a home that nobody wants. Usually for a reason, mold, water damage, stuff that will definitely require you to rehab it anyways, which means guess what? You trying to go in at 0% to 5% doesn't matter anymore because now you're stuck with a $15,000 repair bill. In fact, just to further drive this home, let's go on Investor Lift, which is a website similar to Zillow, except it shows the entire US all at once. So I'm looking at every single listing on the US all at once. By the way, you should not use this website to actually look at houses. I'm using it for this specific example. I put in up to $100,000 and I put in only single family homes. There are 1,600 in the entire country. There might be 1,600 people that watch this video that are interested in this. Okay, probably not. But regardless, I have 7,000 subscribers and I pretty much only post Section 8 content. That means at a minimum, there are 7,000 people interested in this. But guess what? These gurus have 1 million followers, 2 million followers. I know one of the biggest on the platform is Tom Cruise on TikTok. Not the actor, Tom Cruz on TikTok. And he has like 1 million followers, maybe 2 million, and he only posts Section 8, meaning there's a ton of people interested in this strategy, but not enough homes under 100K, meaning once again, these homes sell like hotcakes. I mean, if a home is in decent condition and under 100, you can expect it to sell within a few weeks. They have no reason to go for the seller financing deals unless they desperately needs to sell the home. Part 4, why are the gurus still pushing it? Because it sells. Buy real estate with no money down. Click video. Skip the bank, buy today. Click video. It sounds like a dream. Now, just to be clear, I also have a mentorship program. It's in the description. I have students that I teach the strategy to, but I'm not going to say, get in 0 money down, 700 cash flow per house after expenses, 50% ROI. No, I'm not doing that. That is unrealistic for pretty much any human alive. And here's what they're not telling you. Most of these seller financing deals were years ago when it actually worked. A lot of them are using DSCR loans now, which is what I recommend. They're not showing current deals a lot of the time. They're just using recycled content and sales pitches, and they're making money
money selling courses, not real estate. I'm not saying everybody, like, for example, I fully believe Tom Cruise is super rich and owns a bagillion properties. I fully believe that. These other people, they are making money off of courses. For example, again, Tom Cruise, he makes almost $700,000 a month just from his courses. His average home only rents for about $1,000, $1,100. And he advertises that it's renting for $1,400, $1,600. So a lot of these gurus, they're not lying. They're just using outdated strategies. And guess what? It might still work with someone like Tom Cruise or Section 8 Kareem. The seller financing strategy might work for them because they're already huge investors. People trust them more. Sellers trust them more. Or someone like Tom Cruise can literally say, hey, here are 700 pairs of keys for other homes I own. I am good for my word. I will pay you over the 30 years. So they almost are as trusting as a bank. But the average new investor can't really build that trust. So you're playing a 2025 game using 2020 rules. That is how you lose. Part 5, what you should do instead. So if seller financing doesn't work, what actually does work? Simple, DSCR loans. Here's how I teach it in my mentorship. You should use a DSCR loan. They're not gonna check your W-2. They're not gonna check tax returns. They're not gonna check pay stubs. This loan is approved based on how much rent the property brings in versus the mortgage payment. So you'll need 25 to 30K saved up per property. No, it's not zero. No, it's not $5,000 per property. It is 25 to 30K. I know that sounds like a lot of money, and these people have pitched you dreams because they're not mentors, they're salesmen. Anyways, we'll end up creating an LLC, buying the homes under that entity, and growing your portfolio house by house. This method is scalable, stable, and predictable, and it works today, and that's probably the most important part. You might not get 0% down, but you will get, $300 to $400 of cash flow a month, long-term equity, and control. If there is a roofing issue, you're not gonna go bankrupt. And by the way, for those concerned that 25 to 30K is a lot of money, it definitely is. However, the alternative is buying a regular rental. The average home price in the US is $430,000. You wanna put 20% down on that? That's gonna be like $80,000, $90,000. And you'll probably cash flow the exact same as this Section 8 home. All right, let's recap. Seller financing sounds good, but most sellers don't qualify, don't want to do it, or will give you terrible terms. It used to work, but times have changed. Gurus keep pushing it because it's catchy, it gets views, but it's not realistic in 2025. What works today is proper financing, real numbers, and slow, steady growth. If you're serious about this and want to build your real Section 8 portfolio, don't chase fairy tales. Use what works now. So if you are interested in my mentorship, go ahead and click the first link in the description and book a free strategy call with a member of my team to see if Section 8 investing is right for you. If you're interested in something free, I actually have a free program I just launched. Go ahead and click the second link in the description. It has a bunch of course modules that you can watch, again, completely for free as a community of fellow investors just like you. And I do a free monthly group call, a live Q&A webinar where you guys can ask me anything. As always, I am Joseph Khateri, realtor in the state of Virginia. Comment any questions and follow for more. Have a nice day.